But we start with tonight's lead, the most anti-woman Congress ever. Just 8 days left until the summer break. Democrats are calling on Republicans to stop dragging their feet on a bill that literally is a matter of life and death, the Violence Against Women Act.
Every single day, 3 women are killed by their abusive partners. 30 million people are left out of the House Violence Against Women Act. When there is violence, we have to help the victims.
Every moment our inclusive legislation to reauthorize Violence Against Women Act is delayed is another moment they are left without the resources and protection that they deserve. The women in this country are watching and waiting.
The Violence Against Women Act helps protect American women against domestic violence, sexual assault, as well, and stalking. The Senate reauthorized the law back in May, but in the House, Republicans refused to pass it, instead pushing their own version that excludes gays, undocumented immigrants, American Indians, and the students. Now the clock is ticking. Republicans are delaying, and the law hangs in the balance. On Friday, 200 survivors of domestic violence wrote a letter to Congress demanding action. And now the New York Times is ripping the GOP for the delay. It's just the latest example of Republicans putting ideology ahead of women's issues, part of a pattern we've seen since the midterm elections. Last month, Republicans killed the Paycheck Fairness Act, a bill that would help close the gender pay gap between men and women. And in state capitals across the country, conservatives are passing laws that actually hurt women. So far this year, 15 states have passed 40 laws to limit women's reproduction rights. Everything from abortion bans to insurance coverage to forced ultrasounds. Nothing is off limits when it comes to the war on women. And they're not letting up. Just yesterday, South Dakota upheld a law requiring doctors to tell women seeking abortions they're at a greater risk for suicide, even though experts say the information may be unreliable and misleading. From day one, the GOP has been working against women's health and women's rights, and it looks like they're not going to stop anytime soon. Joining me now is Senator Barbara Boxer, Democrat from California. Senator Boxer, thanks for coming on the show, first of all.
Thank you.
How does the GOP delay on the Violence Against Women Act fit the larger pattern that we've been seeing of laws hurting women?
Well, it seems that every day, Reverend Al, they come up with a new way to punish women. I don't get it. I don't know why they're doing it. I have to believe that they want to see women without power, because really, when you talk about women's health and you try to shut down access to health, as they did by defunding Planned Parenthood, thankfully we restored that, you affect the lives of 5 million women who rely on Planned Parenthood for health care. So when women are not well and they have no place to go, they feel that they've lost their ability to compete in the world, to hold down jobs, to take care of their families. So I think it's really something that I can't answer as to why they do it, but that's the impact. Now, this delay in the Violence Against Women Act is one that you have laid out beautifully, and I thank you so very much, because many times I feel like, you know, I'm in a bunker and we keep getting issue after issue, but this one really sums it up. The House bill leaves out 30 million people out of the protections. Students on college campuses, LGBT community. We look at the immigrant women, they're left out, and Native American women, 1/2 of whom are abused. We cover them in the bipartisan Senate bill. This was a bipartisan bill that passed with well over 60 votes. The House can just take it up and pass it. Instead, they write a bill that leaves out 30 million people and expect us to say, that's fine. Message to the House, message to Speaker Boehner, that is not fine. We need you to take up our bill and pass it.
And this was a bipartisan bill that passed in the Senate. You mentioned Planned Parenthood. Last night, President Obama got very personal about his feelings on the war on women. and he mentioned Planned Parenthood as well. Listen to this, Senator.
Okay.
Mr. Romney wants to get rid of funding for Planned Parenthood. I think that is a bad idea. I've got 2 daughters. I want them to control their own health care choices.
I think the president addressed it strongly, and I think he's saying in the same spirit of the bipartisan bill that's passed the Senate.
Absolutely. I mean, this president understands that Planned Parenthood, what the Republicans have you believe is that all Planned Parenthood does is abortions. The truth of the matter is 97% of what they do is health care, breast cancer screenings, cervical cancer screenings, well checkups. This is what they do. And they'll do charity work. They'll allow you to pay what you can afford. And for many women, Reverend Al, millions of women all across our great nation, they are the first line of care. And the Republicans went straight after them. And, frankly, I think they're on the wrong side. I think President Obama's on the correct side. I think women know who's on their side. I hope they know who's on their side. If you look at Mr. Romney, he wants to overturn Roe v. Wade. He would defund Planned Parenthood. He supports the Ryan budget that destroys the things that women need and children need and families need. So this is important for women to understand how key it is that they get out and they vote in this presidential race, in the Senate races, and in the House races.
But you know what bothers me, Senator? I understand ideology, but some of these things are actually hurting women. And then beyond hurting women, they're insulting women. Some of the rhetoric and some of the things we've heard. Listen to some of the almost hateful kind of speech we've heard from the right wing.
I don't know how you make anybody watch, okay? Because you just have to close your eyes.
This contraceptive thing, my gosh, it's such inexpensive. Back in my days, they used bare aspirin for contraceptives. The gals put it between their knees, and it wasn't that costly.
What does it say about the college co-ed Susan Fluke, who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says that she must be paid to have sex? What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex.
I mean, the language and the tone of this is just downright dirty. But how does this kind of language, how is this shaping the debate, Senator Boxer?
Well, what I hope it's doing is sending a loud and clear message to every self-respecting woman that they should turn away from this Republican Party. This is not the Republican Party of your granddad. This party has moved to the far right. They are ideological. They are conducting a war against women. They're conducting a war against the middle class and the working poor. Look, today we had a vote on a tax cut. The Democratic plan passed, not one Republican vote. They voted against giving tax cuts to the middle class and the working poor. And by the way, it also reduced the deficit by a goodly amount. They walked away from that because they wanted to give tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires, and it wasn't good enough for them. So I have to say, this election is so critical, and it is so important that everybody weigh in, and that women weigh in, and they go to the people who love them, and they explain what's on the line. Frankly, everything is on the line.
Very serious time. Senator Barbara Boxer of California, thanks for your leadership on this issue, as well as for your time tonight.
Sure.
Coming up, today one party voted to raise taxes on the rich. The other party voted to raise taxes on the poor. Can you guess which is which? Plus, a judge names a new temporary guardian for Michael Jackson's kids. And conservatives take aim at the Muppets. These folks really have too much time on their hands. You're watching Politics Nation on MSNBC.